you set up the board, you've got 3 decks that are action cards, and there's 3 separate categories of action cards. You've got the cop cards, the gangster equipment, which is guns and vests, which is the upgrades for your gangsters, and the respect cards is like the victory points. Next, each player chooses one of the gangs to play as, and whichever gang you choose, you put the cards in front of you. So you'll have these 5 cards, which is 4 gangsters going from your weakest to your stronger gangsters all the way to your boss. In the beginning of the game, the boss starts face up and your weakest starts face up, and the others will have to be hired later throughout the game. The reason the boss is active right away is because the boss represents the player in the game, giving out orders to the rest of the gangsters. And you start with your first gangster because he's the weakest, and that way you have something to start with. You also start with $1,000. The winner of the game is the player with the most respect points when the game ends. And the game ends when you come across the last cop card, which is the FBI task force, which ends the game. The way to get these respect points is through doing actions throughout the game and also scoring kills so that you're making money. You can buy these respect, and there's also bonuses at the end. Now that we know what the goal is, let's talk about starting the game. We've got 4 cubes that represent the gangs that go into a draw bag. And to start the game, you're going to just draw one of the cubes out at random. Purple, so that is the gang that goes first. Step 1, simply roll the business and racket dice. And whatever symbols you roll, whichever players have this business, which is the tailor, would get paid $1,000, and whoever has this racket, which is the speakeasy, would get paid $3,000. On the first turn, no one has any businesses or rackets yet, so you can go ahead and ignore step 1 and go right to step 2. On step 2, when you draw your action cards, you simply take 1 card from each of the decks to form your starting hand.
Artlist.io.
Next, you'll choose which of your boss's special abilities you want to use, which gives you a nice little bonus. During step 4, you have a lot of options, so you can kind of choose what to do. Mostly involves the action cards, which you can play action cards from your hand. And once you start getting money, you can also hire more gangsters, which allows you to play even more action cards. Or you can purchase upgrades for your gangsters to make them stronger. And then finally, later in the game, you can purchase respect cards to boost your victory chances. Once you decide you're done playing cards and buying things, you have to deal with the cops in order to end your turn. So how this works is whichever cop card is showing, it gives you a dice roll, which is a number to run away from the cops. So you try that first, you roll it, and if you get the number it shows or higher, you escape the cops and you don't have to do anything. If you roll lower than the number shown, you have the option to bribe. If you can't pay the bribe or you choose not to, one of your gangsters goes to prison. So if that happens, you get to choose which gangster it is. You'll probably choose your weakest one, and you take their pawn and you place it in the prison. And that gangster can't be used for any actions while he's in prison. You'll have to get a lawyer to get him out. And that's it. At the end of the game, when the FBI card is out and everybody gets their last turn, you'll look at the respect track and you'll also add up any bonuses, and whoever has the highest respect points is the winner of the game. So when you actually play a card, it'll have a number in the upper right corner, which is the gangster requirement. So this card is showing that it requires 1 gangster in order to play. And what that means is, if I want to play this bakery card, I would have to exhaust 1 of my active gangsters. So let's say we play it with Maurice. Now you just do what the card says. In this case, you gain 1 bakery business token. So we're going to take one of these. And you would discard the card after it's played. Now let's say I wanted to play this truck hijack card. It has a requirement the gangster used for this must have a gun. So I can't use Maurice, his action is gone. And I want to use Tremaine, I have to get him a gun. So during your turn, since all the optional steps are done at the same time, I can just say, okay, let's buy him a pistol, pay $2,000 to purchase a pistol from the bank, and put it on Tremaine. So now that he has a pistol, he meets the requirements for the card. And I can say, okay, I'm gonna play this with 1 gangster, which is Tremaine, so I would exhaust his action, play the card, and do what it says, which is gain $3,000. So I would take $3,000 from the bank, and that goes into my player account. And now Tremaine's action is done. How the shooting card works. So let's say I wanted to play it with Booker. I'm going to exhaust his action and play the shooting card. So just like anything, you do what it says. Choose a target. So what the rules say is the target has to be of equal rank. So Booker's got 3 stripes. He has to go after another 3-stripe gangster. So I can't go after the green gang because he hasn't hired his 3-stripe guy yet. So he would have to target Giovanni here because it's the only active equal rank. So how it works, he's going to roll his attack dice and apply the hits. Attack dice are shown on his card. He starts with 2, and since he's got a shotgun, it gives him 2 more for a total of 4. And when he rolls these, his aim shows that he needs 3 pluses in order to score hits. So he would roll his 4 dice. Okay, so out of this, he has scored 2 hits. Now, Giovanni has a health stat of 3. So these 2 hits are not enough to kill Giovanni. What that means is he not only survives, but now he would shoot back. So he gets to shoot with his 3 attack dice. Even though it's not the red player's turn, it's just a defensive shot back. And he actually hits all 3 of his. So in this case, Booker tried to do the murder, but he missed. And 3 shots from Giovanni are enough to kill him. So his pawn would go over to the cemetery for dead gangsters. His shotgun would be discarded. And his card gets covered up by one of these. Killed by the red gang. Now let's just say Booker had been successful and scored 3 hits. He would have instead killed Giovanni, and also killing someone with the card would have earned him the kill respect point. When it happens on a defensive kill, you don't get the kill respect card. How rackets work is they're just like any other cards in your hand at first, and when you go to play them, they'll have a requirement. So like for the speakeasy, you have to already have a bakery or a hotel business set up. So in this case, he could play the speakeasy card by exhausting one of his gangsters. If it was Purple's turn again, he would play this card, and then he would take a speakeasy symbol. And what the card states is the speakeasy has to be attached to one of the businesses. So in this case, it was the bakery that met the requirement. The speakeasy would be attached to the bakery. Essentially, it's running the illegal business out of the back of the legal business. So now anytime someone rolls a speakeasy on step 1 of their turn, the purple gang player is going to gain $3,000 for that illegal business. throughout the game, it's definitely a good idea to get businesses and rackets, as many as you can, because even when it's not your turn, they can be rolled and make you money, so it's like passive income.
Artlist.io.
There's all sorts of attacks in the attacks and robberies deck, like Firebomb, which allows you to blow up businesses and rackets, and Takeovers, which allows you to take over opponents' businesses. But the good news is, in the Business and Protection deck, there's certain protections against it, like the Guard Dog card, which denies firebombs and takeovers. You've also got the Bodyguard, which denies opponents shooting cards. At the end of the game, you'll not only have respect points from your cards, but there's also certain bonuses. And so, for example, you'll get 1 bonus respect point for each gangster that's still alive of yours, and you'll get 2 points if your boss is still alive. You'll also get a half point for each racket, and you'll get a half point for every $5,000 cash that you have. So basically, by doing good throughout the game and having rackets and money and keeping your gangsters alive, you'll give yourself the best chance at having the most respect points.
Artlist.io.